Walters is a great place to watch the World Cup with unlimited TVs, a self-pour beer wall, and it's open late. Walters is located across the street from Nationals Park.
The 2-2. Swing a fly ball well hit to right. This is over Marsh's head. It may go, and it's gone! Garcia got a changeup he could do something with, and he crushed it. And the Nationals lead it 2-0. Homer number 11 for Garcia. An impressive line drive shot over the big right field wall.
Now the kick and the pitch. Swing and a long drive by Mead deep to left field. This is way back. This one is going. It is gone. Goodbye. And the Nationals push their lead to 3. It's the Nationals 4, the Phillies 1.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, bases empty. Here's the set, the kick and the pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out on a high fastball, and this one is over. The Nationals take game 1 4-1. They blast fireworks as Foster Griffin picks up his 8th win. He was spectacular over 7 1/3 innings, 9 strikeouts, 1 run allowed. He dominates this Phillies lineup for a second time this season. And the Nationals return home for an impressive victory against the Phillies, a 4-1 final to take game 1.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Nationals Park, where the Nats on Monday night authored a really nice all-around win, a 4-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies at Nationals Park on Monday night in Game 1 of a 4-game series. So this was a game for which the start was delayed for an hour and 32 minutes due to rain, but the game was played, and the Nats won to begin a series between two teams in what has become the best division in MLB's 2026 regular season, the National League East. The Nats now are 41-28 with a run differential of plus 15. The Phillies now are 42-36 with a run differential of minus 7. The Nats are third in the NL East, a game and a half behind the Phillies for second, and a game and a half behind the Phillies for the NL's second wildcard spot. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the Golf Yards in Arlington. Escape the DMV summer heat at the area's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. Tours now available. Visit thegolfyards.com to view the schedule and save up to $1,500 with waived initiation fees. Again, that website, thegolfyards.com. You know, Mark, we all wondered whether this game would be played on Monday night. The game was played, and this ended up being a terrific win for the Nats. Really good pitching, some good offense in this game, and the Nats come away with a nice win in what looms as a big series.
And just really a nice, clean win. There was not any drama to this one, and I mean that in a good way. Foster Griffin was fantastic. They took an early lead behind James Wood and Dylan Cruz and Luis Garcia, and then Curtis Mead, the final blow. The bullpen did not make it interesting. They were very good after Griffin departed. And so what they did is they set the tone in game 1 of what is arguably one of the bigger series they've had here in a long time. As we discussed, one of the biggest series maybe they've ever played against the Phillies, all things considered. They went out and they just beat them in this game. And that's a great sign as they move forward and try to at least split this 4-game series, if not maybe take 3 out of 4.
We thought that this might be a series filled with high-scoring games. We still could get plenty of high-scoring games, but this was not such a game. The Nats in this game holding the Phillies to just 1 run. The Nats in this game scoring 4 runs on 12 hits, which were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 7 singles. The Nats did draw just 1 walk, but that run total of 4 could have been higher. The Nats went just 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position, but 2 more homers for the Nats, giving them 103 over 79 games. How nice is that for these 2026 Nats? 103 home runs over 79 games. Curtis Mead and Luis Garcia Jr. homered in this game for the Nats. Mead as the Nats starting third baseman and number 2 batter, 1 for 5 with a 2-run homer. Did commit a throwing error, but Mead in the Nats 2-run 7th, a full count 2-run homer to left field to put the Nats up 4-1. And Luis Garcia Jr., he is the Nats starting first baseman and number 8 batter, 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Garcia in the Nats 1-run second, a 1-out solo homer to right field for a 2-0 Nats lead. And that was some shot by Garcia, a projected 427 feet per StatCast. We know that the offense has been led by James Wood and C.J. Abrams, but when you talk about the guys who are on that second tier of most important offensive Nats this season, you got to look at Curtis Mead and Luis Garcia Jr. as being a part of that tier. Mead now 12 home runs, OPS 797. Garcia now 11 home runs, OPS of 751, and each guy coming through in this game.
And they're contributing in meaningful ways. They're not just like stat padding, anything like that. Mead, I feel like every time he's coming up late in a game with a chance to make a difference, he is delivering way more often than not. And I know they already had the lead in this one, but that home run really sealed the deal, because otherwise you're looking at a 2-1 game and going to the back of the bullpen. And not to say they wouldn't have been successful with a 1-run lead, but it would have felt a little more harrowing, and especially knowing who they were facing at the top of the Phillies lineup. I think that 2-run shot made all the difference in the world. The Garcia homer, I was just fascinated by this one. If you watched it, if you paid attention to this, it's a 6-pitch at bat. Pitch number 4 is a changeup that is like a foot above the strike zone. And Garcia swings at it and he fouls it off. Okay. The next pitch, pitch number 5, is another changeup, and it's about a foot below the strike zone. And Garcia again swings at it and he again fouls it off. So now it's pitch 6. What happens? He gets a third straight changeup. This time it's right over the plate. And what did he do? He just absolutely launched it to right center. And that was like Luis Garcia in a nutshell right there. He can put the bat on the ball almost anywhere. Sometimes it's to his detriment that he does do that and swings at so many pitches that are not just like a little off the plate, but way off the plate.
His hand-eye ability is just so good. He's able to get to everything. And I think when he learns to harness that, that's when he's at his best.
But in a bizarre way, his ability to just foul those 2 off, even though they weren't pitches he should have swung at in the first place, just to foul them off, it allowed him to see that pitch, the changeup. And when they came back with the third straight one, he was ready for it. And because they put it in a good spot for him, he absolutely killed it. So I don't think you can compare him to any other hitter. No other hitter on the Nationals, certainly, and very few in baseball, can approach it the way that he does. But because of what he can do, he has the ability to do that. And in a bat in which had some swings that you would never tell anybody to take, it actually ends up resulting in a home run in the end.
He's got a little bit of Vladimir Guerrero to him, does Luis Garcia. Of course, Vlad Guerrero, a great name from Montreal Expos / Washington Nationals past. I've talked about this, but the Garcia power surge has been so nice. The guy in May slugged .513. The guy in June now is slugging .578, hitting for power as a first baseman is supposed to, right? And, with Curtis Mead, so if you ever have like an hour and a half to kill, read the transactions history of Curtis Mead on his MLB.com page. I mean, it is like a CVS receipt. I mean, it's like a mile long, all of the different transactions in this guy's career. But he was with the Phillies. May 2018, the Phillies signed Mead to a minor league contract. And I'm sure some of you know this, but Mead is how the Phillies got Christopher Sanchez. November 2019, the Tampa Bay Rays traded starting pitcher Christopher Sanchez to the Phillies for Curtis Mead. So, the Nats face the Rays and Curtis Mead has a pass with that team. The Nats face the Phillies. Mead has a pass with that team. And like you said, Mead, it seems like he always comes through in these big spots. And I agree, that was a significant homer in this game. You don't know with this Nats bullpen against this Phillies lineup what might happen in this game. That Mead homer loomed large, I thought.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't have the updated numbers, but as of a few days ago, he was hitting almost 400 with runners in scoring position this year, and I think an OPS over 1,000. Cheap plug here. I wrote about Curtis Mead, a big feature piece on him on Friday on natsjournal.com, and we got into some of that history of his where, as you said, he's signed by the Phillies out of Australia, gets traded for a guy who turns into an all-star that never knew that was going to happen at the time. And then with Tampa, he was up and down with them a lot, and he got a chance to play some, but never all that consistently. They finally trade him last summer to the White Sox. The White Sox didn't have a place for him, so they DFA'd him because he was out of options at that point because the Rays had sent him up and down so many times the previous years. And that's what made him available, that the Nats got him, remember, not on opening day, but 2 days into the season is when they announced that they had traded for him. And at the time, that felt like just like a fringe move. Like, here's a guy that might come in for a little bit and maybe play part-time and who knows, maybe he might contribute a little bit. Well, what a move that turned into, because you're now talking about a guy who is consistently hitting second or third for them. He's playing every day at third base, a position that we just assumed was going to go to Brady House. And Mead is basically saying, hey, Brady, just take your time down there in Rochester. You don't need to come back up here anytime soon, because he's far exceeding, I think, what anybody expected House to do at this point. And by the way, people are taking notice. The new All-Star voting came out on Monday, and there are things to not be excited about in this regard. But here's one. Curtis Mead cracked the ballot. He's number 10 at third base in the National League. Luis Garcia and Keibert Ruiz also cracked the list as number 10 at their respective positions. So some people out there are recognizing he's not going to make the team. He's not going to come anywhere close to that. But just the fact some people are actually recognizing what Curtis Mead is doing, good for him and good for them.
March 28th, 2026, the Washington Nationals traded catcher Boston Smith to the Chicago White Sox for Curtis Mead. As we keep saying, that trade looking quite nice. Curtis Mead, in terms of what he has done with runners in scoring position, an OPS of 1,001. C.J. Abrams has an OPS of 1,033 with runners in scoring position. We've talked about how good he has been with runners in scoring position. Curtis Mead has been C.J. Abrams-like so far in this regular season here in terms of that production. And, you know, to plug NatsJournal.com further, you also recently had a Q&A with Luis Garcia, and he homered in this game. So all kinds of positive karma from NatsJournal.com on display in this game.
Well, finally, I was kind of needing that, because if you remember back in April, I wrote a big piece about how Brady House had such a better plate discipline and was off to such a great start. And yeah, that didn't exactly work out so well. I was lucky to have done some features on Garcia and Mead. By the way, you're 100% right that the Boston Smith trade is, it's been really good. I did look up Boston Smith's numbers. He's still in single A for the White Sox. He's tearing it up there. He's actually got huge numbers. I have no idea what he's ever going to amount to, but at the moment, not saying the White Sox wouldn't love to have Curtis Mead in their lineup right now, but the guy they got for him early on in his professional career is putting up some big numbers at single A.
Well, maybe 3 years from now, we'll take back all the nice things we're saying about that trade. But for now, that trade is a positive for the Nats.
We talk a lot on Nats Chat about the front office's major shift towards advanced data, using biomechanics, StatCast metrics, and predictive modeling to drive daily lineups and long-term player development. If you want to see real, measurable results, you could do the exact same thing for your golf game by joining the Golf Yards. Located right here in Arlington, the Golf Yards is the DMV's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. It is officially summer in the DMV, which means the heavy heat and humidity are back, but it is always perfectly cool inside the Golf Yards. We are opening soon and bringing a tour-level, data-driven approach straight to your swing. Even better, tours are now available so you can come see the space for yourself. You can find the full tour schedule available right now on our website. While we gear up for opening, we are running a massive limited time offer, completely waived initiation fees. That is an immediate savings of $1,000 off a single membership and $1,500 off a family membership. Beat the heat and lock in your data-driven edge. Head over to thegolfyards.com to check out the tour schedule and claim your waived initiation fee today.
Another 2-2 coming home. Swinging a line drive, hammer to left. That's going to be down for a base hit. Wood will score. Sosa cuts it off. Cruz takes a wide turn and slams on the brakes. The throw-in is offline, but Cruz retreats to first base. Nationals jump in front 1-0. Dylan Cruz lacing an RBI single to left field, scoring James Wood. Cruz now has 17 RBIs this season and a good start for the Nats.
More good signs from Dylan Cruz. He was the Nats starting left fielder and number 3 batter, 2 for 5 with a double and an RBI single. And he, per StatCast, was hammering balls in this game. Cruz in the Nats 1-run first had a 1-out RBI single to left field for a 1-0 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.02. That single had an exit velocity of 98.4 miles per hour. Cruz in the bottom of the 5th had a 1-out double off the top of the outfield wall in left center field. That double had an exit velocity of 103.6 miles per hour. Also, Cruz in the bottom of the third had a leadoff lineout that had an exit velocity of 104.1 miles per hour. So slowly but surely, we're seeing more production from Cruz. He is continuing to hit balls hard, and he nearly had another homer. Man, that was close to being a homer, of course, ended up being a double.
So he ends up with going 2 for 5 in the game. That's a good night, obviously. He could have had a great night, and he was like inches away from that. The potential home run off the top of the wall, the line drive to center, he crushed it, and it looked like it was going to clear the center fielder's head. Line drive to right field was solid. And his last at-bat, and it's a good thing the game didn't come down to this, because this would have been agonizing if this was true. He's up with the bases loaded in the 8th and takes a 3-2 pitch that was way out of the strike zone, low, and maybe even outside as well. It's called strike 3 by home plate umpire Jeremy Rehak. If Dylan Cruz was allowed to, he would have challenged it. Unfortunately, the Nats had already burned both their challenges, so he couldn't. That should have been a bases loaded walk and extending the lead even more. So I know he's only 2 for 5, but if the umpire gets that one right, that's 2 for 5 with a bases loaded walk. And if he hits a ball about 2 inches further in the 5th inning, that's a home run instead. This could have been a gigantic night for Dylan Cruz.
And we have been begging for more walks from Dylan Cruz. He earned that walk in that spot and unfortunately did not get it. But good stuff from Dylan Cruz. More good stuff from James Wood. He was the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 4 with a double, a single, and a walk. Wood in the Nats 1-run first, a leadoff double down the right field line. His OPS now at 938. And the great June for Nasim Nuñez continues. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 9 batter, 2 for 4 with 2 singles and a stolen base. He did get charged with a throwing error, but Nuñez now for this month of June has an OPS of 984. As we have Nats Phillies, the Phillies include ex-Nat Kyle Schwarber, who set the standard by which all Nationals players' Junes are judged with what Schwarber did in June 2021. We have the Nuñez June of 2026, an OPS now of 984. I did want to mention this, though. So we know that Nuñez is really good defensively. He is piling up some errors here in recent weeks, but it's interesting watching him because I think a decent number of his errors are functions of him being so good defensively. He's getting to balls that many would not. He's attempting throws that many would not. And at times, maybe gets a little careless, maybe gets a little overly zealous, and he'll make a throw he shouldn't try to make. But it is notable, like every few games now, it does feel like we are mentioning, hey, Nuñez had an error. But I think this is instructive. This is why you can't go by errors when judging defensive prowess for a player, because if you have exceptional range, exceptional agility, exceptional speed, you're going to get to balls and get more opportunities as compared to like your average player at that position.
Yeah, it's why like fielding percentage really shouldn't be looked at that much, because guys who get to more balls have more chances, which then skews the percentage, I think, in a lot of ways. That one I thought was a tough error. It was a long run to his left on a ball by Kyle Schwarber. He has to kind of throw it on the run. He zipped it in there. It was a low throw. They originally called the error on Foster Griffin, who was covering the base. I don't think it was fair to give it to him either because the throw was low, but I felt like that should have probably just been a single. That was a tough play, not a routine play. But I'll tell you what, a couple batters later, Nuñez started a fantastic 4-6-3 double play to end that inning and wipe out Schwarber at second base. He went way to his left to field the ball, fired a strike to C.J. Abrams, and it was a great turn by Abrams to finish it off.
Hesitation, leg kick, Griffin's pitch, ground ball to the right side. Nuñez in the hole, has it, throws to second for one, relay to first. A spectacular double play. Oh my! Nuñez into the hole.
Foster Griffin on the mound kind of paused for a second as if to say, like, whoa, I never in a million years expected to be out of the inning on that pitch. I did not think that was going to turn into a double play. The opportunities that Nuñez is giving them that other second basemen would never even have a shot at, I think should not be overstated here. That was a fantastic play made possible by his range and then his arm on top of it.
Yeah, Nuñez doing a really good job. And, just to put a bow on the Nats offense in this game, the Nats out-hit the Phillies 12-5, out-homer the Phillies 2-1. We talked about the various players from whom the Nats got production in this game. You look at the Phillies, look at the top four guys in Philadelphia's lineup: Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, a combined 2 for 16 with 2 singles and no walks. That was it in terms of production from the Phillies' top 4 batters in this game. Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation's Buy 4, Get 4 free sale. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
Hit in the air, out to left on a hard line. It's going back. It's out of here. Home run, Caden Wallace.
Window Nation has a great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, the Buy 4, Get 4 free sale, during which you could replace all of your home's windows and get half of them for free. Plus, you can get your windows with no money down and no payments or interest for 2 years. The sale ends soon, so call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com now to book a consultation. 866-99-WINDOW-NATION or windownation.com to book a consultation, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like: fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's odoo.com to learn more.
Playing Marsh the opposite way in the outfield to pull in the infield. Now the kick and the pitch. Swing and a miss and a fastball. He struck him out. And Foster Griffin strikes out the side in the top of the 4th inning. Strikeouts 5, 6, and 7.
I feel like I had pretty much everything, but I was just in the zone with it all. I feel like I was able to keep them off balance. They're a pretty aggressive team. So once I was able to get strike 1 or strike 2, I was able to put them on the defense.
A big reason for the lack of production from the Phillies' top 4 batters in this game was the Nats starting pitcher in this game, Foster Griffin. He was good for a 4th consecutive outing off having struggled in 3 of 4 outings. And he wasn't just good in this outing. He was terrific in this outing. This might have been his best outing so far this season. Griffin allowed 1 run in 7 1/3 innings with 9 strikeouts versus no walks. And understand this about the 9 strikeouts. Each strikeout was a swinging strikeout. Foster Griffin worked the Phillies in this game, gave up just 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles. He threw a ton of strikes, 105 pitches, 74 strikes, just 31 balls. So the only blemish, top of the 7th, gave up a 1-out solo homer by Brandon Marsh to right field to cut the Nats' lead to 2-1. But otherwise, Foster Griffin, so impressive. And how about, I think we all think that he's done for the evening, and Blake Butera brings Griffin out to work the 8th. Now, only faced a batter, got the out, but we thought Griffin was done at 7 innings, ended up going 7 1/3 innings. That was really interesting.
It was. They were both kind of coy about how that all went down.
Not surprised, no. It's just you're not done till the manager shakes your hand and tells you you're done.
Because I think we all assumed 99 pitches, 7 innings. All right, you're good. You're probably not going to let him go back out there for an entire 8th inning as well. And then all of a sudden, nope, there he is on the mound. And it had nothing to do with the result. He faced one more batter. It's the last guy in the order, Marchand. Got him out. And there's no reason to think that he couldn't continue. But I wonder if, I know this isn't the way he always thinks, but I wonder if Blake Butera, especially after the Mead homer, had allowed them to extend the lead to 4-1, said, hey, you know what, Foster Griffin? You're having a really good season for us. You just pitched arguably the best game of your major league career. I'm going to let you go out there, face their number 9 hitter. I trust you to get him out. And then I'm going to pull you, and I'm going to let you get an ovation coming off the mound. Now, I don't know if that's what Blake Butera was thinking or not. And maybe not, and maybe that had nothing to do with it. But it kind of felt a little bit like that, wanting Griffin to get that moment of walking off the mound instead of just getting high fives in the dugout after the 7th, to actually get an ovation from the crowd. I know it wasn't a big crowd for this game, but they gave him a really nice ovation as he walked off the mound. And then you're not going to let him face that lineup a 4th time. I get that.
Yeah, he was up near the 100 pitch mark right there. And then just felt good with him on Marchand, and then the lineup coming around a 4th time, being over 100 pitches. Thought that was a good spot to put Lovelady in.
Richard Lovelady comes in, strikes out Turner and Schwarber, so it all worked out fantastic. But, I mean, wow, to reach the 8th inning against that lineup, 9 strikeouts, like you said. He had them eating out of his hand all night, and he's now halfway through his season. And he's 8-2 with a 3.15 ERA and a whip of like 1.06. This has been such a good story, and I think we should declare at this point, this is who he is. You know, I'm not saying he's going to be that elite for the rest of the season, but I don't think he's just going to fall off a cliff here at some point. I think he has proven now that he can be a very effective big league pitcher. He's done it now for half a season, and aside from a couple of blips along the way, he's been incredibly consistent for them.
Yeah, 16 games, all starts. His strikeouts per 9 innings now at 8.77. We had some fun on the podcast a few shows ago talking about, okay, who is the 3rd most likely Nat to make the All-Star team this season, with James Wood and C.J. Abrams as the obvious top 2. And, you know, there are arguments for a variety of guys. You just brought up some of the increased voting totals for guys like Curtis Mead and K-Bit Ruiz. But, you know, a few months ago, I introduced this idea of, hey, what about Foster Griffin? Could he be a dark horse candidate for the All-Star team? Then he started to struggle a bit, but now he's back on track. The numbers now are back to being really good. I wonder, I'm not saying it's likely, but I wonder if he at least gets consideration when it comes time to determine who the pitchers on the NL All-Star team are. I think you have to at least look at Griffin. You know, again, I'm not saying it's likely that he gets named, but how is he not at least considered? How is he not at least a candidate for the 2026 National League All-Star team?
Yeah, I think consideration is absolutely fair. I think the problem's going to be there really are some excellent pitchers in the National League. And his ERA, well, that's fantastic at 3.15. There are a bunch of guys in the 2s and even some below that. It's going to be hard to crack the team for those reasons. And then the other part would be that, in a weird way, the Nats' success this year might actually work against him, because if they already have 2 guys in Abrams and Wood, and we expect them both to make it, whether they're starting or not, very often the teams that just have to get their 1 rep and don't have anybody that's an obvious slam dunk, they're very often pitchers. And so you could envision a scenario where somebody who maybe doesn't have Griffin's stats actually gets in ahead of him because a certain team needs to be represented. I'm just throwing names out here, but like the Rockies or the Giants or something like that, that could come back to haunt him a little bit. If he could, we still got a few more starts till we get to All-Star break. If he could somehow get the ERA under 3, and now it's in the 2s, and I know this shouldn't matter, but I think it still does stand out when you see it. If he got to 10 wins by the All-Star break, and he should be at 10 wins because he departed his last 2 starts with a lead and the bullpen blew it, including the game in San Francisco. If he had 10 wins and an ERA under 3, that's a really compelling case. I don't know if he's going to get there. I don't know if it's going to make the difference. But yes, he certainly deserves some consideration for what he has done.
And with the whip currently at 1.06, what if he got the whip under 1? I mean, what if we're talking about him having an ERA under 3, a whip under 1, and yes, I'll play your game, 10 wins. Let's say he has all 3 of those things. How do you not entertain this man as being a member of the National League All-Star team in 2026? Such good stuff from Foster Griffin. And remember the contract. It's a 1-year deal reportedly worth $5.5 million. I mean, what a bargain that is. 1 year, $5.5 million for this kind of production from Foster Griffin. And then the Nats relief pitching in this 4-1 win over the Phillies at Nationals Park on Monday night. Very good. 2 Nats relievers combining for 1 2/3 shutout innings. Mark mentioned what Richard Lovelady did. He came up big. He faced 2 batters, got 2 outs, swinging strikeouts of the Phillies numbers, 1 and 2 batters, and 2 ex-Nats, Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber, to end the top of the 8th, and Clayton Beeter tossed a scoreless top of the 9th for the save. So very nice win for the Nats. They now are 10-6 over their last 16 games. We have game 2 of this series Tuesday evening, 6:45. The Nats have listed Zach Littell as their probable starting pitcher for the game. Some injury updates for the Nats. So Jacob Young was back for this game. He was the Nats starting center fielder and number 5 batter, 1 for 4 with a single, but he ended up only missing 1 game off hurting his right rib cage on the spectacular catch in the Nats' 4-3 win at the Tampa Bay Rays this past Saturday. But also some unfortunate injury news. We on Monday afternoon learned that starting pitcher DJ Herz has suffered a left flexor muscle strain in his comeback from Tommy John surgery on his left elbow. Herz underwent that surgery on April 16th, 2025. The Nats this past February 11th put him on the 60-day injured list. He was scratched from his minor league rehab start on Sunday, and now we know why: a left flexor muscle strain.
It's unfortunate because he was throwing the ball really well, and I think it felt like he was getting pretty close.
And this is an unfortunate setback, and you wonder what it means in terms of his availability for this season.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to fear the worst here, and I guess the worst would actually be surgery, and that's not what he needs for a muscle strain. Having said that, this is like the next level below that in terms of severity. He's not going to be throwing for a while. You have to shut him down for a while. We're talking at least weeks for that, and then you got to start him all over again with the ramping up process. And I just can't imagine that they're going to feel any need to push him to come back anytime soon.
Hopefully this isn't too big of a setback, but yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for DJ more than anything.
Really unfortunate because by all accounts, he looked good and felt good in that first rehab start at Fredericksburg. He was scheduled to go again Sunday. It didn't happen. Obviously, he didn't recover from that start well. They decided to give him the MRI, and it showed the flexor muscle strain. You feel for him. It's so hard. You spend more than a year rehabbing from Tommy John surgery. It's a lonely process. And then you finally get to the point where you're now pitching in competitive minor league games, and you can see the finish line coming up on you. And yet, and we've seen this with a few guys, like it happened to Josiah Gray in the past as well. It's why you can't just assume that these are just simple, go out, throw your couple innings, and you're good to go, and then we're going to see you in the big leagues in a couple weeks. There's a difference in actually pitching in competitive rehab games after everything you've done up to that point. And sometimes the arm just isn't ready for that yet, or something just doesn't go right. It's really unfortunate. You hope it doesn't take that long and we're able to see him at some point this season. But I think anybody who was making plans to see DJ Herz, within the next few weeks or month or something like that, pitching for the Nats, whether as a starter or as a long reliever, you got to put that idea on the shelf now. And if it happens, great, but I don't think you can count on that happening now this year.
It really has become frustrating how the Nats in recent years, when it comes to pitchers coming off UCL surgery, these guys have had a hard time coming back quickly, and we perhaps got spoiled by Jordan Zimmerman and Steven Strasburg, but you just think to recent years, Tanner Rainey, Cade Cavalli, Josiah Gray, DJ Herz, all of these guys have encountered difficulty to varying extents when it comes to coming back from UCL surgery. And it is like this tedious process. In the cases of Gray and Herz now, we have seen the guys get re-injured to some degree. It's become really frustrating. And I don't know if this is a trend across baseball. I don't know if this is just only a Nats thing. I don't know if there's something going on here where the Nats need to really study how they're treating these guys and their comebacks. Maybe this is just bad luck. I don't know. But man, it is not smooth sailing for these guys. We thought that we had gotten to a point in MLB with these UCL surgeries to where it was more or less routine. Not that these surgeries weren't serious. Of course they are. But, that it had become kind of like tearing your ACL in the NFL, where there's a plan. It's been done so many times. You know what the procedure is. You know what the recovery is. The guy comes back in, 10 to 12 months, whatever it may be. With the Nats in recent years, just a lot of bad luck, it feels like, in these recoveries, and a lot of unpredictability with these recoveries.
Yeah, add Joe Ross to that list. He went through it himself as well. And yeah, it's a reminder that it's not guaranteed. These are serious surgeries. These are long rehab processes. Not everybody follows the exact same timeline and pattern. Doesn't mean that ultimately he can't be fine and come back. But I think the idea of, everybody's just guaranteed 12 to 14 months, that's just not true. You have seen orthopedists start to come up with some other procedures, like the internal brace that is used on some guys who usually have a partial tear, maybe not the full tear, but it's a way to repair it and ideally come back sooner, although it's believed that doesn't hold the ligament together for as long. It's, might keep you intact for a few years as opposed to another 7, 8 to 10 years. But you wonder if there's going to be more of that kind of stuff as time-honored as Tommy John surgery seems to be. If you have more and more cases of guys not being able to make it back, or at least not in the time frame that you hope for, maybe there are some alternatives to this that doctors start looking at and teams start looking at.
By the way, with Josiah Gray, anything? I mean, do we need to just accept that this is a third consecutive lost season? Is there still hope that he could have a season? He's dealing with a right flexor strain in his recovery from UCL surgery. He underwent both Tommy John and an internal brace procedure. Underwent that all the way back on July 24th, 2024. Next month will mark 2 years since that procedure. Is there any kind of an update on how he's doing?
I will read you the exact wording from the Nationals on the injury report they sent out on Monday. And this is where we got the news about DJ Herz and a few other guys. Josiah Gray, continuing his rehab and throwing program. That's what I got for you. That not very specific, but I think that tells you a lot right there that there really isn't any change in his status. It's unfortunate as well, but until you start hearing about him throwing off a mound, facing hitters, rehab game in Florida, things like that, there's really not a whole lot of reason to start thinking about how he might fit into their plans, because he's still got a lot of, hurdles to cross before he's even at that point.
That is rough, man. We just talked about potential Nats All-Star selections. Josiah Gray in his last full season was an All-Star, 2023, and now we're looking at, as mentioned, potentially now 3 consecutive lost seasons. But overall, a lot to like with your Nats Monday with what happened in this 4-1 win over the Phillies at Nationals Park. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the Golf Yards in Arlington. Escape the DMV summer heat at the area's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. Tours now available. Visit thegolfyards.com to view the schedule and save up to $1,500 with waived initiation fees. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Here's the 0-1. Smith unloads on one. Deep to right field. Sanchez and Palmer look up. It is over the wall and gone. 2 home runs on the day for Boston Smith. His 14th of the season gives Winston-Salem a 9-4 lead in the bottom of the 7th inning.